All right, so we're gonna install our big brake kit today. I'm just gonna go over a few of the tools you're gonna need. First thing you're gonna need is a big socket wrench. So you're gonna need one of these guys. You're gonna need a 10mm hex drive. You're going to need a torque wrench. You're gonna need one in inch-pounds and one in foot-pounds. We're gonna be torquing to 63 foot-pounds and 144 inch-pounds. You're gonna need a 19mm socket or wrench. You're gonna need a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. You're gonna need a 10mm line wrench, a pair of pliers, a 16mm socket, something to keep your old caliper up and out of the way. And then finally, you'll need your forged brake caliper and your brake pads and your rotors that we'll be installing yourselves. And then last thing you'll need is make sure you have the correct length banjo bolt. This is the right one, and we'll show you how to make sure that that's the right length and that you get that installed properly. It'll come with the kit. Last couple things you'll need, you're gonna need a hammer probably. Doesn't ever hurt to have a hammer. And you'll need an air saw, ear protection, and eye protection. And that's all I'll need, so well, that should be all you'll need. Okay, so let's get this started. So first things first, we're gonna take our 19. And we're just gonna break these two calipers bolts loose. So there's one on the top, one on the bottom. Okay. Okay, let's get those old bolts out of there. Okay, and now you should be able to just completely lift this whole caliper off and away. We're just gonna set it right here for just a second. I'm gonna get a hanger and we're gonna hang it out of the way for us. So I'm just gonna set that right there. It's gonna hang out of the way. We're not gonna touch it yet because we don't want fluid dripping everywhere right now. Okay, and the next step, just walk that guy off of there. So first thing, or I guess not the first, but one of the things we're gonna do, you can come back here and we're just gonna pry this guy off. This clip, you should be able to pry at the bottom of these. And pop that clip off, hang on to it, and then this should just slide out of the way. So that frees it up. We're gonna do the same thing up here on the top. There's another one. Okay, that's all. And just leave that one there. It's connected to a hard line. So that's the line, that's the joint that we're gonna replace, and the stainless steel line will replace this whole hose right here. Now we're gonna get our calipers ready to, we're gonna put our brackets on them. So the way you're gonna tell left from right is right here. It says right, there's an R, and that's the side that the bleeder is on. And you'll notice that you have two bleeders. You have one on the inside, one on the outside. When you're bleeding the brakes, you're gonna wanna make sure you get both of those. But it's going to sit, essentially, it's gonna sit about right here. It'll be about there. So we'll get the bracket installed and I'll show you what you need to trim. Okay, so we're gonna take our bracket, and you're gonna want the short side. The side with the socket head is gonna be on the side with the bleeder. So you'll thread that in. So you'll take these two threaded bolts out. There's two threaded holes and two through holes. You'll take the threaded bolts out and set those aside. And they are different lengths. So I'll show you real quick. So this is the bolt that'll go into the caliper. This is the bolt that will go into the mounting bracket, through the mounting bracket and back into the adapter. So set that aside, get this guy started. Sorry, this is a 10mm hex that we're gonna use. Okay, and this one we're gonna wanna torque especially before we put it on the truck, because it's going to be obscured by that mounting bracket I just showed you. This is just gonna be to compress it together. And you're gonna wanna make sure you set it down on something that isn't going to mar the surface. So you can even take like the bubble wrap that the calipers came in, and that'll prevent you from scratching the surface of your nice new calipers. But you're just gonna compress like that. Okay, so you're gonna wanna tighten these bolts and torque them to 63 foot-pounds. It's gonna be the same torque spec as the factory bolts, but you're gonna wanna torque those down before you do anything else. You're gonna wanna make sure those are nice and torqued. Okay, and then this will really demonstrate what we need to do here. So you'll see, if you were to install the bolt here at the bottom, this has got a lot of stuff in the way. We're gonna trim actually about right here, and we're gonna take some of this lip with us, and it's gonna come off. And then we're gonna also trim the entire, this flat lip. We're gonna trim that entire flat lip off the truck. If you feel so inclined, you can remove the wheel hub, and you can slide the axle out and remove this entire plate, this entire brake shield. If that's what you want to do, go for it. We're just going to trim it on this. You're going to get your air saw, you're going to get your jigsaw or your cutting bit on your Dremel or on your grinder, whatever you want. Get your eye pro, get your ear pro. This gets loud, but we're going to just start off, and we're just going to start cutting right here. That's great, I ran out of air right at the end. Okay, let's try that again. And you're gonna stop just a little bit short of here. Okay, just like that. Another thing you can do is you can use tin slip. You can use tin snips if you want. That's up to you, it'll take a while. But if you want to use that, you can. Now we're just going to cut this edge off. You can see that we're going to cut right on this side of it. So. Now we're just going to go a little bit at a time now. We're going to take a bolt, one of these bolts that goes into the threaded holes, just coming from the back, and just get it started. It's going to require a little bit of, not quite trial and error, but you're going to have to watch where you're going to need to trim to get it exactly right. Okay, so first part we're contacting is right here. So I'm just going to mark it with my hand. That's where we're going to start cutting first. We're going to take a little notch off of there. And we're just going to notch this. Okay, and you should be able to just grab some pliers, bend that out, just like that, and then you can cut it off easily. Okay, we're going to take our caliper again, and just try it again and see where we need to trim next. Okay, so that fits there. Okay, next spot is right here. I'm just going to take a little notch at it right there. Hopefully this is the last time we have to do that. May need to come a little bit further here. We're going to grab our other bolt, and we're just going to try it from the back. Actually, I think we're good. Okay. See up. So just like that, okay. And then we'll tighten those up to 63 foot-pounds as well. But before we do that, you're going to want to take it off, put your rotor on. You cannot get the rotor on with the caliper installed. So. Okay, so you're going to take your rotors. If you have drilled and slotted, you're going to want to make sure you get the side that matches the front in terms of pattern. It'd look kind of goofy if you had them flip-flopped that way. But with the blanks that we have that we're putting on, no need to worry about that. So you should just slide right on. We'll throw some lug nuts on there just to keep it in place. Okay, so you're just going to get this started. Get it close and rotate it up into place. Snug that up. and then go ahead and torque these to factory spec 63 foot-pounds. Let's see if I can find a torque wrench. Okay, let's snug these all up to 63 foot-pounds. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's show you the difference in size here that you're getting. Size matters, guys. So look at this tiny little rotor compared to that big one. Think of all the thermal capacity that has. So thermal capacity is the ability of the material to hold heat. The more thermal capacity it has, the harder it is to get it up to overheated temperatures. So that's gonna help you with braking, especially when there's extra load on the brakes, like towing, or extra weight, or high speeds if you're supercharged. So another upgrade you're getting is instead of one piston in the rear, so the factory calipers have one piston, and it's in a sliding caliper design, where this caliper extends and pulls both sides together at the same time. Whereas on the upgraded Z1 calipers, you're getting two pistons that are pushing towards each other simultaneously, and it's giving you double the clamping force. All right, next step is gonna be to get this old caliper out of the way and install our new brake lines. Okay, here we have our Schmoll torque wrench. Okay, we have our Schmoll torque wrench. This is our inch-pound wrench. You're gonna get this guy and a 14mm bit, and we're gonna be torquing these to 144 inch-pounds or 12 foot-pounds. Okay, we're at 144. And now we're gonna take our line, and I've already installed the banjo bolt. You're gonna want your crush washer on one side and one on the other side. And we're gonna just come over to the caliper. It's really good if you remove that plug first. It makes a big difference. Okay, so and this will just start to thread in. Now, the thing with this is just to make sure that you have the right banjo bolt. Oh my gosh. You're gonna wanna start threading it in by hand and get it seated by hand so that you're not forcing these threads past anywhere that they wouldn't normally go. All right, there we go. Okay, and you can see there that that seats properly, and then we're going to torque that up in just a second. Okay, so if you angle it down, it will clear the leaf spring best, and then we're just gonna get our torque wrench on there, and hold that banjo fitting where you want it to be, and then slowly torque it and just get it. Click, that's it, right there. And that's in its forever home. Okay, so we're just gonna slide this into place right here between, okay, so there's two notches on the back side that the hex is gonna line up with. This old clip that we pulled off before. We're just gonna put that in place and then give it a little tap. And just give it a little tap. Boom, that's it. And that's not going anywhere. Extended length of these lines. So they should be sitting about right there. So look at all the extra length that we're getting. Now we're gonna take our line wrench, and I'm just playing completely blind here, but we're just gonna loosen it up just like that. So I'll tighten it back up and loosen it for you. So we're just gonna take our line wrench and we're just gonna loosen it like that. And it's important you use the line wrench because otherwise you have a really good chance of stripping that fitting, and it is not fun to replace an entire hard line. So just do it right. Do it right, we'll do it twice. And you're gonna want some sort of fluid container to catch all the fluid that's about to be pouring out of there. So we're gonna take that, and we're just gonna drop the fitting right out from the old one and dunk that into your container. And take the new fitting, slide it up and over, or sorry, take the new fitting, slide it in just like that, get it into that notch, and start threading it by hand. Okay, and then take your line wrench again, and you're just gonna set it on here, and we're just gonna tighten it up until it's nice and snug. Right about there. And all the fluid should stop pouring out at that point. And then we'll take our hammer and that old clip from before, and we're just gonna slide it on right there. Give a little bit of a push. just like that, and just lock it into place. That keeps the line from moving. And look at all that extra slack you have for more lift. Most excellent. Okay, so at this point, we now have completely removed our old rotors and brake assembly. So we can toss those off to the side. I'm just gonna set this whole contraption in there. We're just gonna leave it there for now. We'll move that out of the way. Okay, now, now's the time to get a fresh pair of gloves. You don't want any of that brake fluid contaminating your pads. We're gonna install the pads for this side, and that should be it for this side. And then we'll go over and do the next. I got sweaty hands. For real though, sweaty hands and gloves are impossible. Okay, all right. Let's get our glove on. And then now let's install some new pads. We're gonna take some high temp brake grease. I'm just gonna give it a little nice little jelly coating on here. Okay, so now those are greased. We'll just take these guys. Careful not to get any of the grease on the pad material. That's not a good day if you do that. So, drop that in there. This is, in my opinion, the nicest part about these. Also make sure the pads are facing in, obviously. So the nicest part about these is that you don't have to remove half the caliper to change the pads. It's just a matter of pop them out, pop new ones in. And then you're gonna take this caliper spring, or you're gonna take this pad spring, and we're gonna set it right on top. Okay. So now we're gonna take these caliper pins. These hold the pads in the right position. So we're gonna take these guys, and we're gonna start them. And make sure it gets through that first pad. Then we're gonna take this guy, compress it, and then try and get that back pad. And then come all the way through the front. And sometimes they need a little tap. Once you have that pin in, you're gonna wanna rotate it so you can see that hole for the cotter pin. Once you have that visible, you'll just slide that cotter pin right on over and just press it into place. And that's one. All right, and then we're just gonna put that other pin through. This one should go through from the back. Come through. And sometimes they take a little persuasion to come out the front. There you go. And we'll twist it and get that cotter pin in. Okay, so you get that twisted to the right spot. And throw that cotter pin in. And you're done, that's it. Start done right now if you need. Okay, so we got the other side installed. As you can tell, it's all rock solid as it should be. Last step is going to be to bleed the brakes and then bed the rotors. So to bleed the brakes, you're going to go over to the passenger side on the rear. You're going to start there. You're going to bleed the outer cap and then the inner cap on that side until you don't see any bubbles. Then you'll move on to the driver rear and do the same there and continue it until all four corners are done. One thing to keep in mind, since there are two bleeder valves, you'll want to make sure that you do both of them every time you bleed a caliper. It may take a couple of tries, and you're going to want something to catch that fluid so it doesn't ruin the powder coating on your brand new rotors, so it doesn't ruin the powder coating on your brand new calipers. And then as far as bedding goes, you're going to want to go and take it out, find somewhere that you can give it some good stops. You're going to do about 10 stops of about 30 miles an hour of decreasing in speed, and that helps deposit material from the pads onto the rotors, and that's what actually gives you the friction. So they'll feel a little funny at first, but once you get them bedded in properly, they'll be nice and sticky and ready to stop you in a short distance. So that's it, let's get to bleeding these. Okay, if you wanna go again. Yeah, so we're just bleeding it until we feel, okay, go ahead again. Okay, you're just gonna grab a buddy, have them pump the brakes with the key on, if you have the electric brake booster. Have them pump it a few times and hold it, and then when they're holding it, you're just gonna break this loose and listen and feel for bubbles. And that feels nice. And now we're gonna just do this inside one more time. Okay, one more on this side. That feels good. Okay, and then after we do that, we're gonna just check our fluid level just to make sure we don't need to add any. Holding. And then one more on each side. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so I just sprayed off the calipers here with brake clean. Just wanna make sure we get all that brake fluid off. And then now we're gonna go top off the reservoir and go bed the brakes. Okay, so this is what I was taught in school. This is how you're supposed to bed the brakes from my experience. 10 stops from 30 miles an hour with at least 30 seconds between them. So let's get it going. Because the idea is you want to get a little bit of heat into the rotors so that they will allow the material from the pads to bed into them. And that's why it's called bedding your rotors. So let's do it again. All right, so we've just confirmed that the brakes do stop quite well. We just got them finished bedding in. All those pads are now deposited material onto all the rotors, and you should be good to stop at your leisure. As we proved, I think stops on a dime. So that's gonna be all the stopping power you could ever need for your Frontier. So get yours at z1offroad.com today.